Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Dana McLendon. This is the most famous whiteboard on the internet, and you're all welcome. Okay, so this is the topic, the label that I put on this class was Memento Mori, which roughly translated means remember that you too will die. Okay, so this is this presentation is about living your best life from now until then, whenever that is. Let me do a quick survey of the class. How many of you are under 30? A good bit. Okay. For how many of you is this your first time at Alumni? Good number. Okay. How many of you have been in a class or had me do this kind of thing before? A lot of you. Okay. All right. So if you're under 30, you might be like, yeah, whatever, old man. Okay, fine. How many of you are between 30 and 40? Okay, you should definitely listen, for sure. How many of you are between 40 and 50? Okay, it's not too late. And how many of you are over 55? Okay, still got time. Okay, good news. So, let me tell you a quick story. How this class came to be. 13 years ago this week, my older son, who turns 27 today, wanted to come to fighting rifle for his birthday. He was turning 13. So, or turning 14, I guess. So I brought him out here for fighting rifle, and we did fighting rifle all weekend, and that was cool. And then we went home, put our shit in the laundry, packed a new bag, and went to South Florida with his brother and my wife, and we were down there for a week. 13 years ago today, or not today, 13 years ago, 3 days ago, I woke up having a heart attack. I was 42 years old, and we summoned paramedics. The paramedics kept me from dying on the spot. I was taken to the emergency room, to a cath lab that was 5 minutes away, and I was in a cath lab within about 30 or 45 minutes. 100% occlusion, and while they were working on me, I died. I was shocked 4 times at that time, which is more than they normally shock people because there's a diminishing return on the shocks. And at some point, they're just shocking a corpse. But he kept shocking me because I was 40 years old and my wife was on the other side of the door. And I had check with me later and I'll tell you the whole story. I don't want to waste time on that. But anyway, I was dead for 5 minutes. And when I got alive again in the morning, I'd started to think about, well, wow, that shouldn't happen. My wife had to watch me die. And I almost left 2 teenage boys, orphans, fatherless, and I thought, well, I probably ought to figure out how to not have that happen. So I started, that was 13 years ago, so for the last 13 years, I have been an autodidact, a self-educating accumulator of knowledge on living a better life, and not just physically, but emotionally and cognitively, okay? So I'm not a doctor, I'm a trial lawyer, but I've gone through a lot of iterations of the way I now view things and make choices. So I'm going to share that with you today. It's important that I think you view everything that you experience in all the entire world into 2 categories, because I'm a fucking gold. Category number 1 is the things that you cannot control. This is almost everything, okay? Category number 1, you can't control it. It is what it is. Don't worry about that. Category number 2 is the things that you can control, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, okay? Category number 2 turns out to be very, very, very small. People overestimate category number 2's size for them. It's not possible to control everything. It's possible to control only a few things. Everything else you have to accept, okay? So I tend to look at things now that I'm on the back end of, I probably won't live to 110, so I'm probably living in the back half of my life because I'm 55. And I've come to think that most of the misery and suffering that we experience is because we have, in the timeline of humanity, of Homo sapiens is what, 300,000 years old, right? And I'm going to go with the fact that it's probably evolution explains a lot of this. You can do creation, but either way, here's the thing. If you believe in the 300,000 year timeline, Homo sapiens emerges here and all the other Homo species go by the wayside eventually. And let's say that's about 300,000 years ago, okay? Long time, right? You are here today. Almost all of this was very much the same, like this day for these humans was pretty much the same as this day for these humans. It was a fucking struggle. It was hard. Life was simple, but brutally hard. Food, fire, water, shelter, weapons, and other men to kill the men that would otherwise come and take all your shit. That's it. And if you manage to pull all that off today, congratulations, you get to do it again tomorrow. It was very simple, but it was brutally hard. You now live in this tiny little fraction. Starting maybe a couple hundred years ago, life became easy and complicated. Okay? No one in this room is going to die of starvation or dehydration unless you fucking try really hard. Okay? You can literally get in your gasoline combustion engine and drive past a building and they will throw 10,000 calories of food through your car window for $3. You're not going to starve. But life has become complicated. Facebook, internet, electricity, travel, contact with other cultures. It's complicated now. And it's in that complication that a lot of our misery and problems emerge. Okay? And so, as a general theory, I think that if you are unhappy or dissatisfied with the way your life is going, take some of that complication out and try to think about if you're living down here and it's complicated and hard for you, ask yourself, well, how would I be living my life if I were living 1,000 years ago? Okay, strip some of these complications out. The closer, in my view, the closer that you live to the way you evolved, your body, your DNA, the closer that you live to the way that your DNA evolved to thrive and succeed, probably the better. So I recommend, for example, do not go drive past that building and get 10,000 calories of shit food thrown through your window just because it's convenient and cheap and easy. Because if you keep doing that, your body wasn't made to do that. So every time that you run up against a complication or a problem or an obstacle in your life, don't take the shortcut.